I've been making new ideas, but I just can't tie them down to the floor. And even though it's getting old, I just can't seem to find something nice more specific, beneficial, or conducive to what I'm doing with my spare time now that I'm alone and my mind's an empty room. I had a lot of plans to make some time to make new plans, but everything's just so hard to keep in line. And even though I can't stop having dreams of an open road, the current slows and the meaning gets ignored.
Hello everyone, welcome back to WMEB 91.9 Orono, Maine, and you are just tuning in to the Orono Classifieds.
The show where we get to interview those who work on and around the University of Maine campus.
We talk to the unsung heroes of our Orono community and get to know more about what their jobs are really like.
I'm your co-host, Livy.
And I'm your underappreciated, underpaid, underweight, and underground host, Moses.
The intro song you just heard was Specific Beneficial.
And that's by Nate Harvey and Greg Farrington of the Gorham band Suds from their album Narragansett No. 7.
Our guest today is Ben Guité, the associate head coach of the men's hockey team on campus.
He played for the Maine Black Bears from 96 to 2000, and after going pro for about 13 years, he came back to campus to coach.
It's a good interview, we promise. He was a great guy. I just want to say a quick thank you to Brian Silverman for getting me in contact with Bryce Colbeth, who then got me in contact with Coach Guité.
We hope you enjoy it, folks. Remember, you can follow us for updates on future guests at our Twitter at Orono Classified.
No S, it's just Orono Classified. I couldn't get it to fit. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Orono Classifieds. I'm your host, Livy.
Hi, Livy. My name is Ben Guité. I'm the associate head coach of the University of Maine's hockey team.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you, you say you're an associate head coach, but what does that really entail? What is the meat of that?
It's a fancy way of saying assistant coach. Essentially, that's what it is. I'm here to support our head coach, Red Gendron, and everything that goes with, decision making or how the program should be run. As an assistant coach, there's two of us that are paid assistant. We have a volunteer coach, and we have a few student coaches that are helping us. But for the most part, there's just a few of us that wear many hats. So along the lines of supporting Red and trying to help him do his job. Both Alfie, Micho, and I. Alfie's an assistant coach, but he certainly does as much as I do, if not more. And both Alfie and I do recruiting. We do game prep, where obviously both of us are on the bench. I run the forwards, meaning the guys that are supposed to score the goals. I also run the power play, so when we have the man advantage, when the other team has a penalty, that means that, that's usually, that's who I work. That's the group I work with during the week of practice, and we prepare for our upcoming opponent. And, just part of the personal development of each of one of our players. So we got our hands in pretty much everything. And, and our head coach obviously has to do even more. So it's pretty busy, but it's a lot of fun.
It's a very involved job.
Yes.
So how many?
There's no hours. Let's put it that way.
I was just going to ask how long you think, but I think I got the answer to that one.
Yeah.
So when you started off coaching, you said you started coaching earlier to me in 2013, you said?
That's correct, yeah.
So did you start off doing all of these things? Did you build up to it? Or did it kind of just be like, yes, he's back? Let's just kind of throw
No, that's a good question. Well, it was my first coaching job, right? So you kind of had to get your feet wet. And I was fortunate. I had read that, he had been coaching for 35 years at the time. And my counterpart at the time, Jay Leach, he had been coaching forever also. He coached here, and both Red and Jay had coached here in the early 90s. And then they had gone both to the NHL. I coached for pro for a long time and then come back here. So I was fortunate to have those two guys to learn from, right? And so here I was pretty green, just coming out of playing hockey, and then got a chance to learn from guys like that. obviously, over the years I've played hockey for a while, so you kind of have like an idea of what you want to do, want to be as a coach, what kind of coach you want to be. But really, my responsibilities when I first got here were essentially just recruiting and penalty kill. I wasn't really looked upon to do a whole lot more, and
So when it comes to recruiting, I'd say I'm like at a distance, the occasional hockey fan.
Right.
So I really don't know like what makes the perfect player or like a really good player.
Right.
So when it comes to recruiting, like what do you do? Do you just watch tapes all the time? Do you travel?
Right.
Do people do you reach out to people or do players reach out to the school?
There's a lot of people that reach out to the school. I mean, players that are caliber of playing for us is not always, what it needs to be, the people that reach out, but there's certainly some that are really good that do. I think most importantly, like most recruiter would tell you, is that the network that you build, having people that you trust out there, being able to not report to you, but that you can bounce a name off of them, and you're going to get an accurate read on what type of player they are. Then from there, you gotta, you'd be hard pressed to find a hockey coach that doesn't want a player that's got hockey sense, right? That knows how to read the game, that's competitive, right? Doesn't matter how good a player is. If you don't have the puck, it doesn't matter. Obviously, there's skill, there's speed, there's size. There's a slew of things that you're really looking for. But at the end of the day, I think somebody out there, you see him, says, man, this guy would look good in baby blue and dark blue, and he can make the alpha on rock, and that's somebody I want to recruit.
So has there been someone in like your entire years doing recruitment that you just kind of saw them and you just knew like they're going to be great for the team,
right?
And they're just like you to kind of like not like love at first sight, but right off the bat that they could have been like a perfect fit.
Absolutely. I mean that at the end of the day, when you see that play on the ice, that's what you got to follow your gut. There's nothing. You're always projecting, right? There's no clear path to being a superstar. So you do have to project and see how that player is going to be in 3, 4, 5 years down the road. But some of them do definitely speak to you a little louder than others.
So when you were playing professionally, did you know at that point, or even like while you're still in college, that you eventually wanted to go back to coaching or go to coaching?
No. I was fortunate enough to have the best coach I've ever had here in Sean Walsh. But I also despised his guts for a couple of years. So when I was here, there's no way I'm going to be a coach. There's no way, there's no way I could be like that. And but looking back in hindsight, you look at all the lessons that he's taught us and how he conducted his business and how much impact he's had on all of our players' lives. You're like, wow, this is pretty noble. A profession. I certainly could see myself doing it, and I got a taste of it as I got older in my hockey playing career, and I definitely wanted to give it a chance when I retired.
So when you eventually thought about coaching, was it, I'm assuming it was less of I want to do coaching, I'm going to look at UMaine. Was it more like UMaine called to you first and then you decided coaching? Like what was what I'm trying to say is did you know that you were going to come back to UMaine?
I had no idea. You can imagine a lot of players want to stay in the game, and so it's these jobs are pretty sought after. And I was just very lucky where I retired. They were replacing the entire coaching staff here when I came in, so there was openings, and Red and I sat down, had a good talk, and we felt like it would be a good fit, and we went on from there.
So what was it like coming back to campus though? Was it because I'm imagining in, I don't know, 20 years when I come back to school that it's going to be, I'm at that point, I'm in my 5th year.
Right.
So my freshman year, I was like, I love this. I had all the UMaine shirts.
Right.
I'm in my 5th year now. I'm like, I just kind of want to leave.
Right.
I'm kind of done. But I'm imagining in 15, 20 years that I'd want to come back.
Oh, it was awesome coming back. It was a lot of fun. This place has great memories for me. Actually, my wife and I met here. She was an engineer, and so for us coming back, it was really cool. Our life now is very different than when we were undergrad. We have 2 little boys. I mean, they're both 7. Well, they're 7 and 9 years old. They're not that little, but they're still very young. So life for us at the University of Maine is completely different than what it was as an undergrad. So, but nonetheless, it's great to see. I look back, Coach Amy Vachon with the women's basketball team. I mean, she was in the same grades, same class as we were. So it's really neat to see these people that you had relationships with, that you knew, that you considered friends, and being able to renew, because your life splits you, sends you in a different path, and it was really neat to come back full circle. There's still a lot of people on campus that I knew from when I was a student here. It's fun to see every day, and it's different. It's different at the same time. As a student, you go around campus a few times over in a given week. As a coach, well, pretty much you spend the bulk of your time in the hockey rink, so you don't see as much of campus as you did as a student. But nonetheless, I really enjoy bringing a recruit on campus, and you get a chance to walk the mall and come have lunch at the Union, and walk. And so that brings back a lot of memories, and bringing them to talk to professors, and it's just a great campus, and it's fun to be back.
Yeah, so you tack on to your job that you're a little tour guide every once in a while.
That's part of it for sure.
So when it comes to being the assistant coach, assistant head coach, or what is the process of becoming one? I guess it's a little bit different for you since you went here. But let's say I don't know, I would want to be the head coach. Is there kind of anything? Do I need a special kind of training? I'm assuming I need experience.
Yes.
In some sort. But
right.
what would a good coach in your position have under their belt?
Well, I mean, just because of my responsibilities, of course you need knowledge of the game. That's a big plus. You definitely need a college degree. If you want to be a coach in the NCAA, you do need a college degree. Having a graduate degree also helps quite a bit. It does set you apart from the rest of the competition. I mean, obviously you need a lot of the game of hockey. You got to be very familiar with it. On the other part, for me as a recruiter, I need to know a lot of people in the world of hockey. You know what I mean? So having played 13 years of pro hockey, it's incredible the amount of people when you look at the junior teams and the prep teams and the high school teams and whatever teams you recruit out of. It's incredible the amount of people you know. You don't quite realize that till you start looking. And so probably your connections and your network is a big deal. And not to drop names, but really to make calls on people that you can trust. So I think coming in as an assistant coach, I really needed that. And probably a good reputation. I'm hoping the people that were my reference said good things about me, but that's pretty much it. There's really there's no test that you have to pass. I think it's more or less it's a character and an eye test that the head coach feels comfortable with.
So, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you play professionally and you get paid, you can't do college hockey, right?
That's correct.
And then you also don't need to have, it's not like football where you need to go to college in order to go professional, right? Can you do professional right out of high school?
You can. So in Canada, they have a league called Major Junior, and you can go to that which essentially prepares you for the pro ranks as opposed to coming to college.
So how do you compete with that? Or do you find that, again, I don't really know, but do players really have a sense of what they want to do, or do you have to try to say college might be good for you? Why don't we try that?
Sure. Our biggest solid point is if you go to college, you're buying yourself some time. And then in terms of development as a hockey player, it takes time to get there. It's when you're 20 years old, essentially Major Junior, you turn professional as a 20-year-old, you're still much of a young man. You're very even sometimes an old boy. And we're preaching to them that, obviously aside from the free education, which is a huge plus, of course, is that your body and your mind gets to develop a little more, and you get a little bit more mature. So when you do turn professionals at 23, 24-year-old, you're ready to be in the NHL as opposed to waste time in the minors. I guess that's the biggest selling pitch hockey-wise that we have.
I think the buying yourself time one is really big.
Huge.
I feel like when I was, I think I was a sophomore, me and my roommate were talking about, we're watching hockey news or something, and we saw that Connor McDavid became captain of the Edmonton Oilers. I remember thinking I'm the same age.
Right.
I cannot imagine doing all of that. So I just feel like I see, if I'm scrolling through rosters, I see how young some of these players are.
It's crazy, right?
I'm I cannot imagine having that kind of maturity at my age.
Well, a guy like Connor McDavid is also an exceptional hockey
Yeah.
player and being. And some, I guess, some could be, right? There's a list of very few guys that, you probably put Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, not too many others in that list. So those guys do exist, right? There's plenty of people that hit rock star status at a very young age. But for the most part, most of us need time to simmer and develop and be more mature. And I think that's where college comes pretty handy on top of the fact that you're getting a world-class education.
And I know that, like, you don't even get players right out of high school anyway, either.
Right.
Like, do they do, you said major juniors. Do a lot of them tend to do that before college as well?
Well, they don't go major junior, right? Because that's considered professional.
Yeah,
they go
sorry.
like, I guess you call it a junior A or junior tier 2. I guess that's what you would call it. And then they tend to play in those leagues before coming here.
Okay, so, like, I'm just thinking. I'm trying to imagine myself in this situation, although I can't skate.
Right.
I'm not very competitive, but I'm imagining, like, if I was in that situation, I'd probably want to buy myself a lot of time.
Right.
So I can see why a lot of people would do that too.
Yes.
But when it comes to once you're in the professional leagues, so you're a coach now, but as both in college and professionally, what is the relationship on the students or the players' end with the coach?
Like here with
Like here or in, like, professionally, like, how does the relationship between the player and the coach, like?
Well, here it's
It's hard to explain that. Sorry.
no. Well, I'll take a stab at it. But I think here you develop a longer lasting relationship, something that I think you'll affect your players a lot longer. Like I talked about Sean Walsh, how much impact he had on my life, and how I first of all, I want to coach our players, and how I want to raise my kids, and what kind of husband I want to be. I would hope, like that's the type of impact you have on the players you have here in college, because you have them for 4 years. At the pro level, unless you're Connor McDavid or Sidney Crosby that signed 10-year deals, most of the guys every 1, 2, 3 years are off somewhere else. And you don't develop the same relationship with your coaches. So here, you're talking about, well, you're dealing with a student, you're dealing with obviously you're dealing with a person, but most of the times guys are away in a different world for the first time, like whether they're Europeans or Canadians, they come here and they've never been in the U.S. before. Most of them have lived away from home, but still at a very mature age where, campus colleges can bring a lot of distractions. And then you deal with the hockey player. At the pro level, more or less, I think you deal much more just with the hockey player than the rest of the stuff. So there lies the difference.
So my job on campus is I do event staff. So I haven't seen a hockey game in 4 years. I'm usually the one taking tickets or opening and closing the little chute door.
Right.
But when I'm in the arena and I'm not even doing anything, it's like feeling that energy of the crowd during, like, goals.
Right.
That makes me feel like, oh, I'm so glad to be here. How does that feel on, like, your end?
It's the best. It's the best. I think, probably a lot of players get addicted to it. And, probably a lot of them have a hard time when they retire because they don't have that, they don't feel that. But it's an incredible rush for sure. As a player, especially you're so full of adrenaline at the time you do score the goal, adding that crowd. And to tell the truth, it's the best, but we have the best here. The crowd at Alphon is by far the best one in college hockey. Of course, I'm biased and everything else, but if you compare it to our opponent, you were asking me before, like, who's the most fun team to play against? Well, it's whoever brings the most passion in the building, right? And on the road for us, there's really no other building that have the same type of atmosphere as the Alphon. So really, we're really, really fortunate to have the crowd that we do.
Like, I remember, I'm originally from New Jersey, and so Princeton University is about 15 minutes from my house. I went to see the Princeton games. I remember thinking, like, this is so sad compared to the Alphon.
Right.
It's just, like, they don't have a student band. There's not a lot of chants. I think the only people who are cheering loud enough were people from UMaine who live in the area.
Right.
So I also remember that a big factor of when I was doing when it came to me looking at colleges, I came here 3 times on 3 different tours.
Really?
And every single one of them said that the Alfond has the loudest student section in at least Hockey East, they said. Do you from your perspective, I really never know what it's like in the actual rink, but how much do you hear people, like all the singing and the chanting? Is that, does that reach you guys?
Oh, for sure. For
Does
sure.
that, pump you up at all? Does that really do anything?
For sure. I mean, the coaches, we try to stay a little more, detached from that. But the players, for sure, it affects both our guys and the other team. There's no question about it. I mean, whether it's real or not, whether it's right or not, our guy's always a little more courageous at home, and I think that goes for most athletes. And guys, most hockey players or any other athletes playing on the road is harder, and so they create an environment that's extremely difficult for opponents and really, really beneficial for our guys. So the guys feed off of it like crazy.
I know there's times where during the summer, I just I miss doing all the chants.
Right.
My little spot in the back, usually checking people for tickets, and they try to go up on the box seats.
Right.
I'm always doing the little dances, or I was the only employee that signed up to go to the Portland game. So I was working I was in the penalty box. If you remember, the door swung open halfway through the period. That was my fault. It didn't unlock all the way. But even then, it's just knowing that I'm a little tiny part of that.
You guys are a huge part. I mean, you walk in out of that chute at Alfond, and you essentially walk in facing the student section, and it's a wall of noise that's coming right at you. And that's probably that's like I said, it's the best college crowd there is, and definitely has a huge impact on the game.
I know those people are great. My friend Wendell does he's the one that yells out all the chants.
Oh yeah.
So in 2 years ago we had the same class. So every day after the games, his voice would just be so hoarse. I'm like, the Naked Five are just shirtless,
right?
And they're still getting a lot of recognition. You're the one that's out here killing yourself doing this. But I guess it is is that ever a big selling factor when you're trying to get new people to come in?
For sure.
You ever say look how great our fans are.
We bend over backwards to bring a recruit on a game day. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's hard because they also play on the weekend, so do we. So to have them come in on a weekday and see an empty Alfond just doesn't have the same effect on Saturday night when we win. So I think anytime we've won at the Alfond when we had a recruit in, I would say probably our batting average is pretty high. It's got to be really high, as opposed to just bringing a recruit on Tuesday where he sees an empty Alfond. So you guys help in the game and for the future, just so you know.
So when it comes to playing, I know you said that whatever team is brings the most is the most fun to play against, but I have to ask. I know that they sell the UNH rivalry a lot to the students. As the team, do you guys feel is that really the big rivalry, or is that just any other team to play against?
I think when I played here, it was definitely one of the big ones. You had BU because of Jack Parker and Sean Walsh, how much they hated each other. And definitely UNH was one, because UNH, and you think about it, we beat UNH in '99 in a national final, so for the national championship. So those were there I apologize. Those were there mostly because how competitive those games were. Now, obviously we're not a national contender yet. I do like where our team is going. I think UNH is doing some nice things, but we're not at that level just yet, right? So I think historically that rivalry is still very there, and the guys know it. I mean, they take a lot of pride, and I think just because our campus puts so much attention on it, and because it's such a great, rich history with them, they feel that, and they definitely put a lot of bonus on those weekends, and those weekends are always a lot of fun. I think there's different teams now. I remember last year beating Providence at home and beating UMass Amherst. That was top 2 team in the country at the time. You develop hatred, I guess, for certain opponents in a nice way, right? That's not
good rivalry.
It's a good rivalry, but those wins mean a lot too. And I think so you have your traditional rivalries. The UNH and even BU brings quite a bit of emotion, But then you also have, Hockey East has evolved since those days, and now you also have different players. Like we got one coming in tomorrow in Northeastern. Northeastern's given us a lot of trouble over the years because they're a really good team. So for us, our guys really, they look forward to those games because, it's going to be good hockey and it's going to test our resolves, and playing in front of the Alphon faithful, there's nothing better.
So it's kind of like, I guess, bring up another kind of random question. I know that, so college is usually typically 4 years, and I know that after 4 years you have, I don't know the exact numbers, but each year I'm assuming you're changing out 1/4 of your team. So at the end of 4 years you have a completely new team than you did 4 years prior to that.
Right.
How does that play out in terms of team dynamics? Is it ever really hard at the beginning of the year because you have a fourth of your team is gone, you have new guys that you've never really.
Oh, for sure.
How does that work out?
You look at the seniors we had last year, they did such an awesome job bringing our team together, and then you're like, okay, well, we have good players, so who's going to do that? Who's going to be the glue this year, right? And there's this great quote. I'm sure I'm going to botch it, but essentially it says freshmen want to play. No. So freshmen want to play, sophomores want to start, juniors want to score, and seniors want to win, right? And so a senior is always a little more desperate for team success than any other class. Some guys come in as freshmen and they already have that in them. But for the most part, your seniors are the ones that are really going to drive the bus. And so if you get a good group of seniors, you usually get really good results just because they bring everybody along, and so that's always very tough to replace. I think we give an unbelievable group of seniors this year that have done a really good job doing that, and they took their cues from last year's, where I thought was really good too. So, so you have to replace, and hopefully the guys that are juniors this year are looking and they're learning, and they got their notepad and they see what those seniors are doing, and they'll be able to duplicate the same thing next year. So it's always tough to replace your seniors because usually they tend to be your better player down the stretch, and they really tend to be your big time leader. So it's always big shoes to fill. But if we do a good job on the recruiting trail, hopefully it's a progression that kind of becomes seamless after a while.
And so even whether it's after graduation or if they leave middle of college to go play professionally, do you ever have a lot of players coming back and visiting, or do they ever come back post their careers and helping out at UMaine?
Yeah.
I'm imagining so you played for UMaine, you played professionally, you came back.
Right.
Is that typically what happens at UMaine?
There's so many guys that have played at a high level for the University of Maine that if you want to coach, usually you have a lot of guys to pick from. Guys that have had success, they're going to do a good job here. As far as guys, not everybody wants to coach. I sit down with every single one of our players and I ask them what they want to do, and most of them say they don't want to coach. Kind of what I said when I was, as a player. But they come back. I look at both Chase Pearson and Brady Keeper left early last year. Brady came to see us on the road at Yale, and then Chase Pearson during his All-Star break just last week came to say hi to the boys, and he was on campus. So it's always going to have a special place for you in your heart. Obviously, Orono's not on the way to anywhere else, so it's a little more difficult to get here. But still, you think about all the guys that have met their future wives here on campus. There's a lot of them in Maine, and they're constantly back. You'll see next couple of weeks from now, we're going to honor Tom Savage. That's donated $1 million to the program, and all the local guys will be here. And there's a couple of guys that are going to travel, and you'll meet their wives and their kids are going to be here. So once you're a Maine Black Bear, you're always a Maine Black Bear, and that's the biggest thing we sell our guys. It's that family culture that we have here, and it's always been here.
I know, part of my job is sometimes I stand outside with a clipboard and I make sure people who are entering the VIP area are actually VIPs.
Right.
And looking through the list, I realized a lot of these people played they played a while ago and they're coming back, and it's just amazing to me. Like you said, it's not on the way to anywhere.
Right.
When I came here for my college tours, we always had to spend an extra day getting here.
Yeah.
And I was looking at places all over New England. So it's just kind of amazing to know they're probably, I know now, but I was thinking back then they're probably doing something pretty great if everyone's coming back and seeing all this.
Well, you play here, it stays with you. That's the cool part.
I think it's if you play for a team in, if you play for like a team in Boston, like, yeah, you're on campus sometimes, but you have all of Boston to go to.
Right.
If you play for UMaine, you have Bangor, but like for the most part, like UMaine is where you are.
Yeah.
People define the area by like, this is UMaine.
Exactly.
So I think that plays a big part in it. When it comes to like, okay, let's see if I can phrase this. So I obviously am not a player, but when it comes to me watching NHL games and I see like there's people on the team who are from UMaine, like I'm a Stars fan. I saw like when they got Ben Bishop, I was like, this is great.
Right.
I got his jersey. I was really excited for that. Does that ever like affect you or like affect the players knowing that like they can see like success come from where they are now?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you look around the Alpha and you see how many guys have gone on to play in the NHL. And so that's, I mean, for as a recruit, as somebody that aspires to the same thing, you want to go where there's a story of success there, you know, and so that inspires the guys that are looking at colleges and saying that's why I want to go to UMaine, but it also inspires the guys that are here, knowing that many guys before them that have done well here have gone on to play and have success at the professional ranks.
So kind of have a couple more minutes left, but is there anything that you want to talk about? Anything you want to mention? I know you said there's the game on.
Right.
Well, by the time this goes up live, the game will probably already happened.
Right.
Because this is going on Sunday.
Right.
But is there anything like any like fun games that you're looking forward to yet?
Well, you know, going to this season, you know, we didn't quite know. We had a lot of guys that we replaced. We essentially had to replace 5 of the top 7 D. And so we had a very young D court that's done just a great job catching up, being able to have a big impact. We also have Jeremy Swayman, in which, you know, if you have Swayman in that, you have a chance to win every game. And our group of forwards, has really taken the helm, and especially like I think we had 3 or 4 that were really strong in the first half. Now the second half, it's kind of like everybody's picked up, you know. So we're playing our best hockey here going down the stretch. We have 7 games left. 6 of them are at home. We're ranked 16th in the nation. We're 2 points behind first place in Hockey East. So there's a lot of stuff on the table. It's very exciting. So and knowing that we have 6 games at home, like all we can ask is have people to show up, in huge numbers and make as much noise as they do, like they always do, and be part of this with us. I mean, this is a fun time to be a Maine hockey fan, and certainly be a fun time to be a coach and a hockey player with us. So that's what I'm excited about. That's what I'm excited about, and really just kind of bring campus with us. That's what we're looking for.
Okay, so I think that's going to wrap it up for us. So you want to do any last minute shout out or social media things everyone likes to do at the end of these stuff?
I do have a Twitter account, but it's mostly to keep the news. I have an Instagram account that I never visit. We have a TikTok account. The UMaine Hockey Program has a TikTok account that actually does really well. And it's kind of weird because it has the special videos that do well. It's not the ones about hockey. It's about the ones in guys with their suits coming off the bus. But apparently, a couple of those videos went viral, so check that out. I think Pat Shea on our club has a YouTube channel. So there you go. Those are my social media plug. You have to check those guys out, but personally, I don't have anything for you.
I feel like by the end of this semester, I'm going to have so many, I'm just going to be following so many people on all these different platforms.
Right.
When you went car shopping, you meant business. You aced vehicle history searches and test drives. Now you've got your wheels. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Okay, folks, that's going to do it for us today. I want to say a huge thank you to Coach Guité for taking time out of his very busy schedule to come down to the station and talk to us. Thank you to our fans who are listening to this, either live on the radio or on YouTube. Thank you for showing us your support. The game that we briefly mentioned in the show was actually on Friday. Maine played against Northeastern and won 4-2. It was a really great game to watch. I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the home games for this semester. And then the TikTok account that Coach Guité briefly mentions, that is at Black Bear Hockey on TikTok. the videos are pretty great. I can see why they have like 1 million views. It's crazy. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we are at Orono Classified. That is at Orono Classified, no S. You can find any future guests on there, as well as if you want to ask them any questions. If you or someone you know is interested in coming onto the show, if you work either in the Orono area, you work on campus, even just work in the state of Maine, we would love to have you. You can find us at Orono Classified, either direct message us or drop us a mention. We'd love to hear from you. I also want to say one final thank you to Nate Harvey and Greg Farrington of the Gorham band Suds for letting us use their song Specific Beneficial as our intro. Our outro song that you're going to hear right now is actually White Rock Overture. I love both of these songs. I'm really looking forward to playing more of their music throughout the semester. So that's going to be it for us today, folks. Thank you so much for giving us a listen, and have a good Sunday.
Does the open window tempt you with the breeze? Well, everyone you meet turns to cold shoulders, mobile ordering groceries, and some take drugs made at the factory, and some play believe, some play just to hide the car keys.